Welcome to Glass Half Full Moon, where if we didn't close in on faces for inconsequential dialogue, Full Moon Features would go out of business. Friends, it's been some time since you've heard from us. You might have heard recordings of our voices, but to be completely frank, we've been in the crypt. Sadly, due to many technical errors, but hopefully we have finally risen from the grave to bring you more terrible, terrible films from Full Moon's catalog. And of course, my cohort in these endeavors, Gabe, is here. Gabe, you had a bit of a fit before we started this recording. Are you feeling okay?
It's a fucking... I got all this pasta sauce in me. So it's a whole lot.
Pasta sauce, you say? What brand is it?
A whole lot of Ragu.
Really?
And just so you're aware, I might have spilled coffee inside of my computer the other day.
Really?
That's the thing that I did my best.
That little incident aside, tonight we are reviewing another installment in the Subspecies franchise, Subspecies 3, Bloodlust.
This is Subspecies 2.5.
This was made piggybacked off of Subspecies 2. This was made at exactly the same time, as is often the case with low-budget horror flicks like this.
More so than that, I entirely believe that the plot of this was just Act 3 of Subspecies 2 stretched into a 3-act movie.
I mean, you wouldn't be wrong. You wouldn't be wrong in the slightest, because,
Was this a good movie, by the way?
No. This movie didn't need to exist.
This was not a good movie.
This movie did not need to exist. Like, it doesn't help that they pad a lot of the runtime with footage of the previous film.
Now, I did notice this. I suppose we should jump into the credits at this stage. But the credits, we don't get the standard 2:30 of credits. What we get is 2:30 of a recap of part 2, and then another, 15, 30 seconds of credits?
Minute and 45 of opening credits.
They pad the runtime.
The opening credits are the shortest we've seen so far, but it is definitely padded.
So, I was going to say, since we are on the credits, I will tell you what I uncovered in my investigations into the actors featured in this film.
Ooh, give me all the details.
Pretty much nothing. The guy that played Ragu, he's like very well known for like Scandinavian films, it seems. The woman that played Rebecca apparently was in William Shatner the musical.
That doesn't surprise me.
But mainly I wanted to talk about our director, Ted Nicolau. Someone whom we've seen him before, but we don't really know too much about. We've never really talked about him.
We've covered many of his works, considering he's done some of our favorites and some of our least favorites.
So I looked into him a bit. He's definitely a worker. He's worked throughout the industry. Namely, I noticed that he worked on the sound team for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which, good for him. But perhaps more dangerous, I should say, is he was an actor in Roar, the most dangerous film ever made.
Oh no.
Are you familiar with that film?
I am. I am very familiar
It
with
is the
Roar.
film where Tippi Hedren's leg gets broken on camera by an angry elephant. And he was an actor in that. It at least had him listed as being on screen, which, good God. I also have a picture of him here.
Oh,
That
goodness.
he's... But Ted Nicolau looks like he's an AI-generated image.
He kind of does. Who does he look like he's an amalgamation of?
He looks
I can't
like
place-
Albert Einstein mixed with, like, the lead singer of Smash Mouth.
Maybe with a little bit of Seth Green thrown in.
A little bit of Steve Buscemi.
Maybe a little Steve Buscemi.
It's in the eyes. Those eyes. Dark like a doll's eyes.
Jeez. The devil's eyes. Anyway, getting back to this absolute train wreck.
Yeah, we got big bad recap. We have Rebecca getting...
Immediately within the first 5 minutes in, Rebecca gets naked.
Does this count as tits? We see side tits. I don't know
No,
if that
it just counts as cheek.
Okay. We
It's
get
just
plenty of
straight
ass.
cheek.
But we don't get money tits because she's taking off the outfit she started the film with because it's covered in blood. I guess she didn't have any underwear on beneath it.
I don't blame her for not wanting to stay in a blood-covered dress, but like, dude, she gotta change like right out in the open. Just immediately throw on some giant overcoat. I'm just like, that's not gonna help you here. But a little
or
backtrack.
just put the coat over top the bloody dress.
A little backtracking. I kind of liked the music in the credits.
Yeah.
It's like gothic romantic. I kind of really enjoyed it.
I think that's kind of one of the things I do like about the Subspecies series of films, and I am on record as liking Subspecies 2. It does have very good gothic atmosphere. A lot of the atmosphere of these films works as a schlocky vampire movie.
Yeah. But Becky stated to her sister Michelle that she was going to wait until dark for her and then immediately goes seeking for help. Because she doesn't take
the car.
But why would she do this? She does not know that Mummy came back and straight up yeeted Michelle away into the catacombs. Because Mummy's really mad because her boy is dead.
I have her listed as very angry.
She's basically like, fuck you, bitch, you're pretty and untainted, and you made my boy stupid.
So here she does a bit of a resurrection thing on Ragu, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, but she says that this ritual will give him an eye.
I'm guessing like a third eye is what she means, but it makes no sense.
So here's the thing. That's what the subtitles said while I was watching. I don't know if you watch with subtitles, but the subtitles for this are
They're
terrible.
so bad. It's honestly, she actually says give him life, but the subtitle said give him an eye. The closed caption on this movie is horrendous.
They spelled Radu with two O's at the end.
It's not good.
But we do get some good blood effects.
We do get some decent blood effects.
In the resurrection scene.
And of course, Mummy brings back her boy because we can't have a Subspecies movie without Ragu.
That name still doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, we've seen the name Radu in the credits of this film as far as, like, some of the production staff. So it is a legitimate,
No, I mean the name Subspecies.
Oh yeah, no, it still doesn't make any sense. But This movie jumps around more than the Energizer Bunny, because after we get this little bit of Mummy starting her resurrection ritual, Becky ends up making it to a small village and
Into a seedy bar.
asking for the phone, which is apparently powered via wind-up power.
Yeah, so this whole scene made me uncomfortable because she's like wearing a big coat that she's clearly naked underneath, and she's got all of these foreign men staring at her. And I think it was more so knowing the production company behind this film that made me quite nervous moving forward. But they do just kind of the guy takes the phone and just starts yelling into it, and we get a close up on Rebecca's face, and then we zoom out.
And then we get a jump cut to Lieutenant Marin.
And they do have actual translations for the Romanian here.
Yes, they do have actual subtitles for the Romanian here. Lieutenant Marin is on site at Castle Vladislav, or I guess the catacombs nearby, where he's found the corpse of Professor Popescu, having died in the previous film trying to vanquish Ragu.
Rest in peace, my friend.
May there be waterfalls of Palinka for you in Romanian heaven.
Romanian heaven?
I don't know. Wherever he chooses to go.
Heaven.
Vampire hunter
you
heaven.
go to a heaven based on geographically where you died. But no, we also see Mel. I fucking hate this guy. He's the guy that ran away, right?
Mel is he's the guy in the previous film who worked at the U.S. Embassy and didn't believe Rebecca when she was just like, something's going down with my sister. It's all kinds of messed up.
Right. And now he's back and he's the love interest, obviously.
Of course. He was the love interest before and they barely touched it.
Well,
because they needed to have a love interest.
Well, what they needed to do, because he ran away, right? That was the thing. He didn't believe them, and because of that, I'm assuming that's why this movie's happening.
He didn't run away. He just never showed.
Well,
Popescu was the one who went through everything with Rebecca because he believed her. No, Mel just didn't do shit.
And now we're supposed to have him come in and be the hero. Fucking whatever.
No. But Rebecca has called Mel and Marin there in search of her sister, and they've not found anything. Although they must not have searched very hard because Rebecca goes in and hears Mummy's cackling and follows it pretty damn easily.
Right. And this is the scene where first of all, are Ragu's nails longer? I feel like they're longer.
They feel longer in this one.
And for some reason, Mummy is fucking holding a comically oversized kitchen knife. I'm sorry, what was happening there?
I have no idea, but he's so happy to be back alive with his pretty one. And then I have to say, this movie has no pacing in terms of time because it was mid-afternoon 20 seconds ago, and now it's just completely dark out.
Oh, yeah. There's like, what, day for night is a common thing. This is just day for whatever time they want it to be. There was no acknowledgement of the passage of time. There was no acknowledgement of the level of natural light around them. They will say like, oh, it's, dark out, blah, blah, blah. There's no reason to be concerned. But it's so clearly they are doing this like in the middle of the day where the vampires are standing outside in direct sunlight, and they're like, so, can sunlight kill us? Fucking, you're in sunlight right now. Jesus Christ.
And of course, they all decide to get the F out of there and make haste back to Castle Vladislaus, or at least into the higher towers. And they just smoke screen the fuck out of there.
Yeah, they're like chanting in, I don't even think that's Romanian. I think they're just making noises. And they flashbang the entire catacomb, just sending it all the way, just sending people running out. And yet no one believes that it's vampires. Or at the very least that they are reason to be concerned.
Yeah, it's... this is not good.
It's... Yeah, it's just clearly... Again, I believe that this is just the third act of Subspecies 2 extended into a 3-act movie.
Yeah. They make it back to the tower of Castle Vladislaus, and here's
so moving
Ragu
on from
again.
Here, we do get Ragu, like, sneaking around and breaking into houses.
No. First, what happens is... First off, he's always making faces like he smelled something really foul.
So I will say one of my favorite parts of this film is the face acting of the person playing Radu.
Anders Hove.
It's so good. He's always just making... And I have a theory that it's because of the vampire makeup. He felt like it was... I feel like he thought he needed to overact to get like his facial expressions through.
I could see that. Like, if he felt the prosthetics were rather heavy, he might have felt he had to over-exaggerate to get that across. But he always ends up looking like he smelled something really nasty.
It's that's the one thing I'd say.
If you watch the Subspecies movies, watch it if only for Ragu's facial expressions, because they're good, in that they're terrible.
And he drops a cage on
Michelle.
Michelle.
While he's making these faces, he puts Michelle in a cage because apparently he promised to teach her everything about being a vampire, even though Michelle never wanted to be one, wants nothing to do with Ragu. Where did this sudden change come from? Michelle flip-flops more than... She flip-flops more than a deck of cards in a casino.
So my assumption here is that either she is trying to play along with Ragu, trying to, like, you know, wait for her moment to succeed, or she's just kind of given up hope and now she's having to deal with this. But no, otherwise it just does not make sense.
I am glad that they've basically put Michelle back into the victim. Because, I mean, like, in Subspecies 2, we could never tell, is Michelle our hero, or is Rebecca our hero? No, we have firm grasp on our protagonist in this, and it's Rebecca. Michelle is just a damsel in distress at this point.
Right.
And then this is where Ragu starts going around and being a creeper.
He steals a random lady, right?
He lifts a woman from the streets, immediately rips off her shirt, and I hate to say I straight away noticed that one boob was bigger than the other.
I didn't notice that, if I'm being honest. I wasn't paying too much attention to her tits.
I immediately noticed that one boob was bigger than the other.
I wasn't paying attention to that.
I was, apparently. Maybe because that was more entertaining than this movie.
Oh, yeah, so ding, tits. Okay, moving on.
And immediately Michelle is like, that looks yummy, can I have some?
Yeah, Radu is like trying to get her to drink blood. That's the thing happening here. And she does, and then they just kind of take a nap. They go into a little hole and take a nap.
He he tucks her into bed, and by bed I mean the concrete slab in the hole where he sleeps, although he is oddly tender with her. Like, he's obviously our villain, but with Michelle, he's actually very sweet.
I think that is the implication, that he does have a genuine love. I mean, obviously he's a fucking weirdo.
In a twisted way.
Yeah, in a twisted vampire way.
It is a genuine love for Michelle when she just absolutely despises him, and despite her outward hatred, he still does not change that demeanor towards her. Like, he might talk down to her in some instances, but he's never violent with her. He never raises his voice. He's still very tender with her in his outward actions.
And this is one of those things where it's like, okay, if this was a better director, if this was a better, script, this could be a interesting film. But we have one of the biggest things I think that is holding a lot of these full moon movies back is the fact that they're done in such rapid succession. You got to get the next one out, next one out, next one out. You can't stop and work on things and improve things as much. And as a consequence, it just is not as good as it could be.
Especially considering at the time of this recording, the 15th Puppet Master installment has come out.
Just a few more. Just 40 more, and then we'll reach the joke from Robot Wars?
39, and we'll have our joke, and that might happen by the time we hit that.
So, also, we meet what I assume is Miss Popescu?
I'm pretty sure she is Professor Popescu's secretary, as Mel and Rebecca head to Popescu's office to raid it for more vampire hunting supplies.
And literally raid. Like, Mel lies to this grieving woman. He's like, I'm just gonna go to the back room, pick up some things I left here. And he starts stealing Popescu's shit. Like, I fucking hate Mel.
Throwing it out the window.
I know he did it out of necessity, but I don't care. I fucking hate him.
He's not good.
Oh, and then we get one of the funniest scenes in the film to me, which is Lieutenant Marin and two of his other detectives show up at Castle Vladislas, and he has a megaphone, and he's negotiating with the vampires as though we have the police, we have jurisdiction in this place. Please inform us on how to enter your castle so that we may move forward with our investigation. And the idea of the police trying to genuinely negotiate with vampires in accordance to the law is very funny to me.
And here's the thing, Marin still doesn't believe that it's vampires. He does not believe that it's vampires, and he's just here using a megaphone how do we get inside? There is no gate.
He knows that there is a problem, but he does not believe it's vampires.
No. He's just here eating a sandwich while his men dig up grave sites.
I was going to say, why are they digging a hole?
I don't know.
He just sits down, he points his men to a grave site, he's like, start digging. He sits down and starts to eat a sandwich. Fucking what? Okay.
And Marin's working theory is that Michelle is stealing antiques from graves and dealing on the black market. That is his working theory.
The movie needed a skeptic. I get it. But maybe not one who also saw a crypt explode into light and cackling. Right?
And this is also where Marin states that they need written permission from the director of antiquities to get inside if there's no other current way in at the time, which would take between 2 weeks or 2 months. But luckily, they still have Popescu's way in, because Popescu is an urban explorer.
Popescu remains the most useful character, even after death. And so, okay, first of all, I get it they need to do cop procedural things for the movie to happen. They know that there's a lady in there that is almost assuredly at least doing illegal stuff. It seems like they can bend the rules a bit.
They have probable cause.
Yeah. Oh, and then they venture in, and they find a skeleton covered in what I believe to be salamanders?
Yeah, they looked like fire salamanders.
What were they doing crawling all over bones?
I don't know, but I kind of want a little salamander terrarium with some little skulls for them to live in.
That was the
That'd
only
be cute.
takeaway, which was, I want a salamander.
Yes. I want a salamander.
And so I've mentioned to you that I've started to get into VR video games. And
Yes.
during this scene, Marin reminded me of myself in VR, where he's just kind of holding his arms out, walking with the... we should say that he is teamed up with the other two to go inside. And he's kind of just walking around, and he picks up a sword very awkwardly. Look, I can interact with this object.
He pulls the sword from the skeleton covered in salamanders.
And... It's very funny because Mel and Rebecca are walking through very confidently, and he's just kind of awkwardly doesn't know what to do with his arms.
Yeah, but too bad they don't get very far because the pathway inside is blocked.
And Mummy's doing something.
She's keeping watch from the window, and Mummy's just like, "Heh, your sister's a dumbass."
And then Mel crashes the car, which I don't think was in the script.
Well, first off, Mummy's like, your sister's a dumbass. Michelle is like, leave her alone, I love her. And then Ragu is like, love doesn't exist, you're just hungry.
Right. I'm pretty sure that's the tagline of the film. The key line of this film is love does not exist between the living and the dead, or something along those lines.
That is the key line of the film, but the actual tagline for the movie is love bleeds.
That's really dumb, but I like it.
It's so dumb.
Oh, and then isn't that when they're trying to run, and Mel drives his car into a pool?
Yeah.
Which I don't think was in the script.
I don't think so.
he drives into the pool, he crashes it, and then Rebecca's like, "What are you doing?" And they drive away. And this is the scene where Ragu is explaining vampire powers.
Nuh-uh. Before this...
Oh, wait.
Marin...
Yeah.
Yeah, Marin was perusing through the village in the evening after leaving the bar, and we get into Mel and Rebecca in her hotel room because, of course, she doesn't want to be alone in the evening. And Mel is reading through one of Popescu's books, talking about how Vladislav married a daughter from a family of sorcerers who previously owned the castle, and then murdered half of them and drove the rest away. And then this is how it segues into a sexy moment.
Okay. This is a thing that happens all the time, right? Where our two leads inappropriately start making love to one another. But this time there is a little wrench thrown into it. Where as she is trying to... You could potentially interpret this scene as Rebecca trying to get some kind of a relaxation or release after all this stuff that's happened to her. And it's less of a romantic, just a trying to, get through what she's gone through. But as she starts to do it, as they start to get more intimate, you can see she's getting flashbacks of all the things that she just went through. And she pushes back, like, no, I can't. It's just, I can't. And
I also think they needed to pad the runtime, considering they used more footage from the second movie.
I'm trying to give this movie credit, damn you. But no, it's
not allowed.
It's a fair, kind of like, all right, you were not just going to ignore the fact that she watched a man die and, her sister is a vampire and she's not in a good emotional state right now. Okay, good. You get like half a point, movie. You don't get a full one, but that's half a point. And then is that when we get Ragu like
Yes.
dunking on a violinist for no reason?
Yeah. So apparently Ragu's got very superior senses because like from a mile away he's just criticizing a violinist. The violinist from the tavern's live band. He's just like, the violinist is dreadful.
Again,
He's a disgrace.
Potentially a fun scene. Not in this movie. And
Just the fact that Ragu's got an ear for violin, that he can tell that this guy's just doing dreadfully. He's actually passable.
Yeah. Well, he's an ancient vampire. Assumedly, he's from a time when if you weren't that good on violin, they'd just cut your arms off. Right? Or
he's very critical, but he's got a taste for the finer things.
Yeah, and I think that there is a point here where we could have Radu as like a genuine character. Like, you can have an evil character that still has a character, right?
Yep.
I'm not saying that Radu is better than Strad von Zarovich, but
Strad von Zarovich is a fucking simp.
That's one thing between the two of them. They're both simps.
They are both simps.
So what's the next scene?
Well, in Ragu's teaching Michelle to survive, as he states, he has her lure the violinist away to a place where they can be alone. Ragu bites him first and then offers him to Michelle, and I guess that's the vampire equivalent of cutting your child's food into small pieces.
It's like a mama bird regurgitating food.
No, he's just making the puncture marks himself, even though she's got the teeth for it.
Yeah, it's just another scene.
They feed from this violinist, and then they abduct a woman in a car who stopped to see if Michelle was okay.
Right. Right. And that lady shows up for no other reason than to be confused and afraid during the final act.
Yeah. And they return to Castle Vladislaus, and Ragu's like, come, the sun is coming up, we need to leave. And she's just like, I want to watch the dawn. Can sunlight kill us? And he's like, yes.
By the way, they're very clearly in sunlight. Well,
they are very clearly in sunlight.
It is very clearly like 1:30 p.m.
And this is another scene of Ragu being weirdly sweet with Michelle. She's asking him questions like, what can kill us? And he's completely honest in his responses. He's honest in trying to care for her.
Yeah.
Claims that he'll love her for all of time and even offers his own neck to her.
Right.
And then Michelle responds by drinking from him and then telling Ragu that she hates him and that she'll hate him for all eternity.
It does get to a very melodrama level, which I'm here for. I'm here for some like melodramatic vampire nonsense.
This is a soap opera.
Yeah. That's exactly...
This is a soap opera.
If this were a vampire soap opera, it would be so much better.
I would love this as if this was a legitimate, 30-minute serialized long-form soap opera. Because it's got the kind of campiness and the stupid plot devices that make for a good soap opera.
Yeah, either that or this film, if you had just added an extra 30 minutes or so to Subspecies 2, cut out a lot of the meandering parts of Subspecies 2, and told this all consistently and tightly, I would say that's one of the best B movies ever made. Like, I think you could genuinely make something super good out of the mixture of Subspecies 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Oh, and is this where Bob gets introduced?
Yes. Rebecca and Mel have returned to Castle Vladislaus in an attempt to get inside, and Mel has brought along an extra person who can help out. Marin is there just because he likes to meddle. He gets in the middle of things. I think he's just bored.
So here's the thing. There is a scene before this where Mel makes a call to Bob, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that in the first time I watched this. I don't know how I completely missed that scene, but as they're preparing to go into that Castle Vladislaus, Mel's just like, and now Bob is here. It made me lose my mind just a little bit.
Oh my god.
I was just like, okay, sure, fuck it. What? Who?
Bob is a CIA operative, it looks like. Because he looks like the guy who really likes playing Army in his mom's basement, who spends way too much money at the Army surplus store.
Well, he made his own vampire bullets.
But Bob is Benjamin from Invisible.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Bob is Benjamin Knight.
I was wondering why he looked familiar.
And it's funny because a line that he delivers is so true to his character. Because he's talking to Mel about what the plan is, and Bob says, "It's your show, man. I'm just doing a cameo."
That's a lot better now that I know that was his actor. But we don't want to go past. He makes silver vampire bullets out of his neighbor's crucifix. Which I feel like once you melt the crucifix, it loses the power it otherwise would have had against a vampire.
He's assuming that it's the silver, I think. But silver's for werewolves, not for vampires.
Something, Bob, you're dumb, but you're dumb. I like where you're going. I like what you're trying to do. You did it wrong, but you got the right spirit.
So Mel knows Bob because they're rock climbing buddies, and Bob just free climbs up the wall in order to place the security line. Rebecca looks at Mel and she's like, "Your rock climbing buddies, can you do that?" And he's like, "No, that's why I climb with Bob."
That is a good line.
They leave Rebecca and Marin on the lawn and get inside the castle to find Mummy torturing the woman they had abducted the night before. And then Bob unceremoniously dies from a dagger to the face.
Bob was simultaneous. Bob deserved better. I'm going to come out and say it. Bob deserved better.
Bob was this movie's Popescu.
Bob and Popescu should have their own spin-off.
I was just thinking that.
Where you got this, like, loose, hard-ass kind of, or, like, very flippant military guy, but then Popescu, the drunken, like, knowledgeable guy.
The elderly who's, like, very carefree, knows all his shit, but he's a little bit of a drunk.
Yeah.
I would be all over this.
But also, in the same vein as cops negotiating with vampires, the idea of a military-style assault on vampires is also very funny to me.
Yeah, that too.
Oh, and then they just kind of...
But
they kind of keep Mel alive for some reason.
They put Mel in the cage with the woman from the night before. Ragu and Michelle return to the main chambers with Mummy, and these vampires need to learn to wipe their mouths after they finish eating.
These are some messy vampires.
But Ragu has gifted a necklace to Michelle that was apparently his mother's. Mummy's not happy about her stuff being regifted. And they get into a fight. And the acting while they fight is so dumb. And he straight up rips her arm off.
Rips her arm off, then rips her head off.
He's done being a mama's boy. So he straight up rips her head off in a cloud of dust because Mummy's so old she doesn't bleed anymore. She's just dust. And throws it into the fire.
You know, ignore the fact that she bled earlier in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and the head talks to him.
Before it gets thrown into the fire.
Yeah, so it's not... He didn't rip her head off and then she died. He ripped her head off and he's like, "Fuck you, bitch, I'm your mom." Funnily enough, I had a nightmare like that once.
Oh, God. Well, I guess that's one way to sever that emotional umbilical cord.
It's here that... Oh, right. We talk about the Bloodstone. That was a thing. Now we're talking about the Bloodstone again, where I'll be honest, I completely lost track of who is on whose side at this point in the story.
It makes no sense. Michelle is the most flip-floppy person in this movie.
It seems like Michelle has gone fully over to the vampire side, but then she hears Rebecca's voice on a walkie-talkie. She's like, "Oh, right, I have a sibling." And she's like, "Give me the Bloodstone, Radu." And Radu's like, "No, I won't give you the Bloodstone." His voice will never not be funny.
Michelle is like, "Let me go talk to my sister and then I'll do anything for you. I will be yours forever." And Michelle walks real weird as a vampire. Her hands are always like slightly out towards her sides, always like they're ready to claw at something. Like she can't just walk normal. She's always gotta like...
She walks like she's in VR.
Yeah.
And then she's talking to fucking Rebecca. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll get Mel. Also, I love that Rebecca's like, or rather Michelle is like, "Let me go," or like, "And I'll trade you some, I will do whatever you say in exchange for Rebecca's life." But she doesn't mention Mel. And I'm very happy about that.
Michelle don't give two shits about Mel.
And then then Rebecca has the gun full of the silver bullets.
No. What happens first is Marin's off to the side.
Oh, right.
And he's got a sniper. He's got a sniper rifle, and he's waiting to see what he can do with it. Ragu comes up behind him, and Marin also dies unceremoniously. He's stabbed in the neck by Ragu and then fed on.
I don't feel as bad about Marin dying. It's unceremonious, but I don't feel bad.
Marin's not as good as he was in the last movie.
Yeah. I just hope he enjoyed his sandwich.
But here's where Ragu comes in, with Rebecca having the gun.
Right. And I want to point something out here. That Bob specifically said, "I have 6 bullets in each gun," and he gives, like, one for him, one for Rebecca, and one for Mel.
Yeah.
And Rebecca proceeds to shoot Radu 12 times.
But here's what happens before this. Rebecca holds the gun to Ragu's head, tells him to release her friends, and the face Ragu makes when this happens, he's just like, oh, well, let me think about that. Okay.
He's got,
cool.
like, Jim Carrey acting.
A little bit. But this is where they're in the castle. Michelle begs Rebecca to kill her, and Rebecca just gives her the gun. Michelle then threatens to kill herself with it, and then she shoots Ragu with it.
12 times.
Way more bullets than what is in the magazine. But at least now the blood nipple belongs to Michelle.
That's right, that was a plot point. Remember when the first movie was all about that?
All about the blood nipple.
And she shoots him 12 times. But they're still not dead. And they start running.
Because silver has no effect on vampires.
Yeah, that actually should be the reason. But no, they run outside. The sun is clearly already up, but fucking Michelle is like, no, I'm gonna burn. Ah.
This is where Michelle starts having an allergic reaction to the sunlight, so they put her in a body bag.
Yeah, and all this whole time, that random woman they picked up is still just there, like, freaking out, confused, which I thought that was really funny.
But Ragu follows after them, not wanting Michelle. He just wants the bloodstone.
Right.
I'm just like, your priority switched very fast.
Well, that is implying he was at all telling the truth. He could have just
I don't know.
He could have just been saying bullshit. Really, it doesn't matter. Rebecca throws the bloodstone over the castle wall. And as Radu goes to grab it, he is hit full blast by the power of the sun. And we get, in my opinion, a very good melting body.
We get a really decent fire stunt as Ragu is set aflame and then topples over the wall, falls onto some branches below, impaling him.
And before that, he's spitting up a bunch of black goo like he's a toddler.
Yeah.
And that is presumably the end of Ragu. And they get Michelle out of there. They put her in
the trunk.
Yeah, and they also get the bloodstone, right?
No, they didn't get the bloodstone.
Right. Because we also get a bit of an ending stinger where
the stop motion blood demons return.
The stop motion blood demons return. They are like taking the bloodstone for
No, they just find it. They don't take it anywhere, they just find it. And that's where our movie ends. Radu's blood, whatever is left, drips onto the ground. The blood demons form, and they find the bloodstone, and that's where our movie ends. Obviously a setup for another one, but still, it's like, how many times are they gonna resurrect Radu? This is
not any more than they resurrected Jason.
Fair. At least Jason had style.
At least Jason had the good sense to not talk.
That too.
So, would you recommend this movie to anyone?
No, but I would be all over if they did a Bob and Popescu spin-off with them as vampire hunters.
Right. So, and this leads me into the other question we ask. I believe we've already done Who Would Radu Fight? I think we already asked that one. So what I'm going to ask right now is, who would you like to see the buddy cop pairing of Popescu and Bob fight from the Full Moon catalog?
Honestly, the Demonic Toys.
That's a good one.
I would love to see them go after the Demonic Toys.
I would like to see them go and investigate that weird fucking Bayou cult from Netherworld.
I could see that too.
That has a lot more of a Call of Cthulhu-esque investigation between these
bird
two.
Cult.
Yeah. I think that would be fun.
The cult of bird herpes.
The cult of the Bayou birds. But,
oh gosh.
Yeah, that's about it. Don't watch it unless you really particularly want to.
I mean, there's some good face acting.
There's
some good face. There's very good face acting from Ragu. Everyone else is terrible.
Yeah.
I guess just watch it only for Ragu.
If you really just want some of that vampire schlocky stuff, watch Subspecies 2 first, and then if you still want some more, I guess you can watch Subspecies 3. I wouldn't say you're a bad person if you did. So, anyway, Casey.
Yes.
What are we watching next?
Something that I feel is going to be very similar to what we discussed today. Another American-Romanian production called Dark Angel: The Ascent, which, according to Wikipedia, is another romantic supernatural gothic horror. So I feel like this is going to be very much in the same vein as Subspecies.
Right. And however, the main character is a, quote, young demoness with a rebellious attitude. So I can only assume we're going to get more tits. That's the only real change I can expect to see from this film.
We shall see, but until then, stay away from blood nipples and practice your violin. And
stay away from violins and practice your blood nipple.
we hope you have a horrible evening. Bye, everybody.
Bye.